Hello and welcome to Wrestling Academy Episode 8. I am your headmaster. My name is Michael Classic, and with me, as always, is the self-appointed Homecoming King, Samee Junio. Samee, how are you doing today?
Michael, guess what?
What?
I'm ready to rumble!
Oh! Yeah, I was going to say, you've had an air of unpredictability and you've just been full of surprises this week. And I'm wondering, has the Royal Rumble gotten into your head?
I think so. There was a lot of surprise appearances in my week, and I really did feel like I fought off 29 other people this week, figuratively
with
and
literally
physically.
a sword. You sent me some videos.
Yeah, I went to New Jersey to celebrate my ex-coworker Lauren Morgan's birthday, and she's a huge Star Wars fan. And she has a bunch of lightsabers, and her child was really eager to get all of the adults to lightsaber fight her or lightsaber fight each other. And she's so convincing that there were, matches between adults, full grown adults. And I did send you a video of me crossing lightsabers with a coworker of mine named Nick Romano. There's only one thing I regret about that feud is nobody was filming when I beheaded Nicholas.
Damn. So that's what I mean. You've just been full of surprises. You went down to Jersey to mess around with swords and you beheaded somebody.
Yeah.
Just a wild week for Samee Junio.
Wrestling is getting into my brain, and I'm just starting blood feuds with almost everybody I meet. So, Michael, what's Wrestling Academy and why are we here today?
Samee, I'm so glad you asked. So Wrestling is a podcast that the two of us started because our favorite thing to do is to get people into wrestling who might not know a lot about it. I mean, as you can attest, Samee, you're a new fan. I'm a lifelong fan, and it can be intimidating to get into. And so we wanted to create a place where we dive into wrestling history and break it all down and help you understand it. So hopefully you can love wrestling as much as we do. And together, that effort is called Wrestling Academy.
And if we get enough of you to love wrestling so much that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, at 1,000 followers on YouTube, I will put Michael through a table.
And we cannot stress this enough. This is not a joke. I woke up because me and Samee, we live in two different cities, so we're separated by time zones. So oftentimes I will wake up to threatening messages from Samee being like, oh, hey, by the way, here's a link to some tables. Maybe these are the ones I'm going to put you through. Oh, hey, here's a link to some wrestling moves that I'm going to attempt on you. So it's just a click of a button for you, but this is my life. And this is really going to happen to me. And every day I wake up, I do have a little pit in my stomach being like, it's going to happen. I'm going to get thrown through a table.
Well, this was at your suggestion. So it's not even a threat. When I send you these links, this is this is to prepare us for our future. And then also it is a promise to put you through a table.
So in truly the most threatening way in the world, Samee, you just said that's not a threat. It's a promise.
It's a promise. I promise you, Michael, I will put you through a table. And it's because I believe in us and I believe in Wrestling Academy, you know?
Yeah, I know. I'm not going to weasel out of it. I know I act scared a lot, but it would be the honor of my life to be put through a table by you, Samee Junio.
I can't believe it. In the name of Wrestling Academy.
In the name of Wrestling Academy. But hey, that's the future. What are we talking about today, Samee?
Michael, today we're talking about the Royal Rumble, a type of match that is just chaotic and crazy, right?
The Royal Rumble is, like we talked about in the last episode, when we talked about the Hell in a Cell, it's a special type of match that is different and unusual than a normal wrestling. Normal wrestling matches, one person versus one person, somebody gets pinned and that's the winner. And occasionally there are specialty matches. And I would say the Royal Rumble is in and of itself a very special match in which 30 competitors fight each other in one ring and they eliminate each other until there's only one person left. And then that person will get a title opportunity at WrestleMania, which, if you don't know, is the largest show that the WWE puts on. So it's sort of where a lot of feuds culminate. And if this were TV or something, it would be like the season finale of all wrestling storylines happen at WrestleMania. So the Royal Rumble, I think, has a special distinction because when you think of a match like Hell in a Cell, like we talked about last week, the Hell in a Cell is a match that elevates feuds, whereas I feel the Royal Rumble is a spectacle in and of itself. So a lot of it is built around just the fact that this match is going to happen. It happens every single year because it's so popular. And it's been built into the fabric and the DNA of WWE storytelling. We've touched on this before, but if you look at the WWE and how they program their year, they have 4 main events that are sort of the guideposts that they build their entire programming around. So WrestleMania, that's the season finale. And then you have the Royal Rumble, and then you have Survivor Series, and then you have SummerSlam. SummerSlam's kind of it's kind of a mid-season finale is sort of how you would think about it. It's
So
it's
wait, were
the
you
midway.
working backwards? So it was WrestleMania's the big event,
Yes.
and then it's Royal Rumble, and then Survivor Series and SummerSlam. So it would their WWE's season starts with
Which generally is in April, and then we go to SummerSlam, which is in August.
Okay.
And then we go to Survivor Series, which is in November. Then we have the Royal Rumble, which is in January. And then that takes us all the way to WrestleMania in April.
Okay, wow. Sick.
So it's a big deal. And it just got me thinking, much like with the Hell in a Cell like we did last week. Just where did the concept of the Royal Rumble come from? And so I did a little bit of digging, and here's what I came up with. So the concept of a Royal Rumble is a modification of a type of match called a battle royal, a battle royale. And so from what I could tell, battle royals have been happening since the 1700s. They go beyond wrestling into the world of boxing and pre-boxing, and basically the concept is let's just have a bunch of people fight. So instead of a boxing match, what if it's 5 people in a boxing match? And that's what a battle royal is.
Wait, hold on a second. Because boxing is a 2-person. You're lined up. So
Yeah.
a battle royale would look so silly.
Yeah, it's just it would be a multiple people in a single fight. And that's what a battle royal was. And they were super popular because I'm sure, as you can attest just from seeing a Royal Rumble, a bunch of people fighting in a ring is just a crazy spectacle. So people have been doing those as exciting curiosities since truly the 1700s. And it was in the boxing world. It kind of fell out of fashion, I think, because you're very rightly picking up on how legitimately dangerous that could be. Yeah.
To look at.
And then, much like the Hell in a Cell, around the 1930s, they start tinkering with the idea of what if we just do this, but in a more predetermined setting like professional wrestling. And that lent itself to being very popular because you can control the chaos in the match. So you could have 10 people in there and have the huge spectacle, but it's less dangerous because it's more predetermined. So it became very popular and a staple of wrestling. And the most popular version of a battle royal is the over the top rope battle royal, in which you throw your opponent over the top rope, and if they go over, they're eliminated. And so it's just a nice way to get 5, 10, 15, 20 people involved in your show, and it's got that spectacle. Sort of like when we went and saw GCW, you noticed that the way they opened up the show was they just had 8 guys fight each other. And it's just a nice, it's just a wild, crazy spectacle, and it gets the energy up, and it's a nice thing to put at the top of your show. So that's a battle royal. So that's been going on since the 30s in wrestling, right? So we cut to about 50 or 60 years later, a young up-and-coming wrestler named Pat Patterson comes on the scene.
We love you, Pat.
We love Pat Patterson. We've talked about him in our first episode, an early trailblazer in wrestling. So in the 80s, he's wrestling, he's been in a lot of battle royals, and he wants to come up with his own unique signature match to give to the wrestling world. And so he always really liked the energy of a lot of people in battle royals. And then the other concept that he really liked and thought was super exciting is, when you're watching a wrestling match, Samee, and then somebody runs out from the back and slides into the ring. There's always that exciting burst of energy of like, who's this person? What do they want? What are their intentions? So Pat's idea was basically, what if we do a battle royal, but instead of everybody starting in the ring, we start with 2 guys in the ring, and then everybody who enters has almost a surprise run-in. And so it's basically a battle royal with mystery opponents. And so every 90 seconds, a new person enters and you don't know who that person's going to be. And that adds to the air of mystery and excitement. And he called the idea the Royal Rumble. And he pitched it to the owner of the WWF, Vince McMahon. And Samee, Vince McMahon hated it. He thought the idea was stupid.
Of course he did. Because he's a loser.
He didn't get it. He didn't like it. And he was just sort of, no, I don't think that's a good idea at all. But
what a fool.
They try to do a test version of it in 1987 in my hometown, St. Louis, Missouri. Oh, and they don't go full 30 people. So they do a test. They make a little test pancake Royal Rumble where they do 15 guys, and it's a disaster. It just does not go well. It's awkward. It's clunky. Nobody really gets what they're supposed to be doing. And they accidentally, the ring announcer accidentally spoils who the winner of the match is going to be, because whoever won that Rumble would get to challenge Hulk Hogan for the title. And so the announcer was like, hey, be sure to come back next month when One Man Gang fights Hulk Hogan. And everyone's like, well, okay, well, One Man Gang's going to win. Like, this sucks.
Hey, you know what? I bet if I was the announcer, I wouldn't have messed it up at all.
Yeah, you would have been like, let's get out of here.
Shucks.
They do this test Royal Rumble 1987. It's a disaster. And they're thinking, all right, well, we're probably never going to do one of these again. And so they get called in by the USA Network to have a meeting where they want to do a special event, because this is the early days of the WWE. So they don't have the set pay-per-view schedule. So this is like a big deal. Oh, let's do a big television event and let's do something special. So Vince McMahon puts together a card, brings it to the executives. They look at it and they're like, we don't love this. Is there anything cool or unique or special we could do? And in the room, Vince McMahon's like, oh, do you want to pitch this guy your little Royal Rumble idea? And so Pat Patterson lays it out. The executive loves the idea. He's like, this is going to be the greatest thing we ever do on television. And his only innovation was, what if we put the countdown clock on the screen so that the audience knows how much time they have left until a new mystery opponent enters the ring? And then that goes to the very first Royal Rumble, which was January 24th, 1988. And the very first winner was Hacksaw Jim Duggan. And the event was a huge success. So successful that they still do the Royal Rumble to this day.
I really love that this was an idea that was shot down. But if you look at Royal Rumble, that first Royal Rumble in 1988, the January one, and the Royal Rumble that happens this year, there's not much difference. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like sharks haven't evolved very much, or bees haven't evolved very much, and neither has a Royal Rumble, but it is so popular that it still happens annually. Good job.
Sharks haven't evolved because, Samee, they don't need to.
They don't need to, dog.
When something's perfect, it doesn't need to evolve.
I know, which is great. I think that's I hope Pat had a real chip on his shoulder about this.
Oh, I would have been so smug about it. I'd be like, all right, well, you thought the Royal Rumble sucked, so, what are we going to do?
Hey, Vince, remember all those failures with Heese and Assis?
That's the history of the Royal Rumble. Let's just get into what is the rule? What are the rules? So here's how it goes. It starts with 2 competitors in the ring. And then they have a normal match. And then every 90 seconds, a new competitor enters until you get to 30 people total. And then the only way to eliminate your opponent is by throwing them over the top rope. So if you pin them, if you put them in a submission hold, none of that stuff's going to work. The only way to do it is you have to throw them over the top rope and both feet have to hit the ground. And then they're eliminated, can't be in the match anymore. And the prize for the Royal Rumble. So the very first Royal Rumble they do in the 88, there is no prize. It's just you've won the Royal Rumble. Congratulations. And over the years, the only sort of caveat that gets added is if you win the Royal Rumble, you now have the ability to go to WrestleMania to challenge for the title.
Great prize.
I know what I love about the Royal Rumble, but just based on the research we've been doing and just experiencing them for yourself, what intrigues you the most about Royal Rumbles, or covering them, experiencing them, seeing them? What do you like about them?
I really like that there are like an inception level of stories. Like there's an inception level of storytelling happening in a Royal Rumble. Obviously the baseline story is the match itself. Like, oh, who's going to win to be able to go on to WrestleMania? But deeper in there is each wrestler has his own journey to the Royal Rumble, and inside that, or outside of that, whichever way you want to go, there's the stories between a competitor and another one that's in the ring, or another one that pops through and it comes in after them. So there's all of that, and then there's also the story of the audience's relationship with the wrestlers that you get to see. So you get to hear an audience reaction of their favorite wrestler, or a wrestler they're not expecting, and then there's another story of just unexpected wrestlers coming back, whether it's from injury or Hall of Famers coming back and just making an appearance and stuff. So the Royal Rumble, as chaotic as they are, also have incredible stories within them. So it's not just like an hour of people punching each other. It's like people punching each other with stories.
It's a very fun intersection of, as you said, every competitor in the match has the overarching story of they want to win the Royal Rumble, they want a shot at the title. Mm-hmm. But as you said, there are lots of opportunities for these two people are rivals, and so they might be fighting and trying to stop each other from getting that opportunity. Whereas over here, these two people are forming an unlikely alliance to try to take out a bunch of people. Whereas these guys had a feud 2 years ago. They're finally face to face again. And so there's just a lot of fun ingredients swirling that you can just sort of shine the spotlight on at any given point over this hour-long match. And it keeps, it's new bursts of energy. You get to see wrestlers, for example, the Great Khali enter. Mm-hmm. He's 8 feet tall. You get the fun of how are all the wrestlers going to deal with this guy who's legitimately 3 feet taller than everybody else? What are we going to do here? It is one of the best entry points to get people who don't know anything about wrestling to get into it and experience the fun of wrestling, because I think it's pretty easy to understand. Somebody goes to the top rope, they're gone. And then it's just a nice little sampler platter of 30 different wrestlers. And now that they do women's Royal Rumbles as well, 60 different wrestlers that you just get to see them pop in. And be like, oh, this is a cool costume, or this person's got they seem like a pretty crazy character. What's going on here? And there's a lot of different things that can pique your interest. And you can almost just pick somebody at random and see how well they do. How long are they in the match for? And I think it's just a very fun communal event. And it also just how it happens to fall around my birthday every year. So to celebrate my birthday, I usually have a bunch of people over and we watch the Royal Rumble. And it's just so fun.
Oh my God. I just had the silliest idea for a birthday party for you where
we enter the Royal Rumble.
Me, enter the Royal Rumble. Well, I know that you invite people over to watch a Royal Rumble with you. And so the idea was that you have
30 random friends, and I don't know who's walking in the door.
But they come in at 90-second intervals.
Samee, I love that you think I have 30 friends. I appreciate that.
Look, I mean, I believe in you.
Oh, but there
You'll just
could
have
be an
to
opportunity for like, oh my God, my ex from high school is here.
Yeah.
How did she get involved?
Hall of Famer feelings herder.
Oh my God. Oh my
You
God,
know
Mike and
what?
this guy, they haven't talked in 4 years, and here they are face to face again. Or you invite two people just because they have beef with each other. So like,
Right.
these two people got in a fist fight at a party. Why'd you invite them to my birthday? They're going to fight each other again.
But listen to the pop of the other people in the room.
Oh, everyone's going crazy that these guys are face to face. It's been years.
All right. Well, you know what? Reserve your next January, buddy, because that's what's happening.
Okay. I'm going to make it my goal to try to meet at least 30 people over the course of the year.
I think I really believe you can do it. Here's a question that I have about like kind of the behind the scenes of Royal Rumble, and I don't necessarily know if you have the answer, but do you know like how much planning goes into it, as far as, you know, we'll have the very big beginning and the very big end, but is it set up where like it's a very intricate like out or story that like they're like, okay, you come in at third but you're eliminated at fifth? Or is it kind of like one of those improvised movies where there's an outline, and as long as you hit these beats, or as long as these certain wrestlers hit these beats, then you're good to go?
Great question.
Hey, thanks.
I don't 100% know. I have an educated guess just based on what I know about how WWE matches are booked. What I know is in the WWE, you have the talent, and then you have behind the scenes writers, and they some of them are called agents. And what an agent is sort of usually a former wrestler themselves who lends an outside eye to what you could potentially be doing in the match to make it more interesting and exciting. And so all those people come together, put their heads together, and they come up with sort of, we know who's going to win, and then let's come up with some interesting, called spots. Let's come up with some interesting story beats to hit within the match, or interesting places we could take, sequences we could do, things we could reference, etc. So you'd have to imagine with 30 people, there's a handful of talent and agents and personalities, and like you said, surprise people coming back. So I almost think it would be physically impossible to fully script out the match. But what I think probably happens is, you know, when you're coming in, you know, when you're going out, and who's taking you out. And then I bet if there's a big momentum shift in the match where it's like, oh, this person's coming back and they're going to just lay everybody out in the ring, I would assume, you know, those main beats are going to get hit. But I think the skeletal stuff that's happening between all the big moments in the match, I think those are impossible to script out. And I bet the majority of what's happening are people are calling it in the ring, which is that's another way to put together a match, is while the match is happening, the two wrestlers are communicating what they're going to do next, and they're going based off of how the crowd is responding. So some wrestlers like to do it that way. Some wrestlers like to just fully plan it all out, beat it all out. And I would assume for the Royal Rumble, it's a mix of a lot of different things. Like, for example, in 2016, AJ Styles was debuting in the WWE at the Royal Rumble, but he had just been associated with New Japan. So they wanted to keep the fact that he was in the WWE now a huge secret. So he doesn't show up. Nobody knows he's going to be in it until he shows up in the Rumble. So that's almost impossible to script out for a bunch of people.
Sure.
So I would assume he's got some ideas in his mind, and there's a little bit of runway for like, okay, you come in, you get sort of you get 2 minutes to sort of show your stuff, and then you're in the flow of action, and you know you're going out at this time, etc.
I see. Cool. There's also just one thing that I've thought about, like the rap party of Royal Rumble must be really fun. You get to see all your friends in one spot.
It's like a cast party for a play.
Right. I just want wrestling to be super cute backstage, and I don't think I'm wrong.
I think nowadays it's definitely way cuter backstage than it was in the 90s.
Oh, heard.
There were a lot of party animals backstage, and when people are party animals, That could be fun for a while.
For a little bit.
It could be real cool. And then, well,
And then,
yeah,
oopsie daisy.
then it's not. But I think, Samee, the thing I love the most about the Royal Rumble is because it's such a spectacle, right? 30 people are all swirling around. It lends itself to so many crazy bits and pieces of spectacle that they get to just pull out all the stops and just do something that's over the top wild, over the top weird, over the top funny. And I just have a handful of classic Royal Rumble bits that I just want to run by you and see how they make you feel.
Oh, I can't wait for these treats.
Yeah. So one of my favorites is at the 2001 Royal Rumble. They invite Drew Carey from the Drew Carey Show, from Whose Line Is It Anyways? They're just like, oh, hey, man. I forget exactly how it happens, but it's sort of him backstage just interacting with the wrestlers and like, oh, hey, do you want to see what it's like to be a wrestler? And he's like, yeah, I guess so. And they're like, well, you're in the Royal Rumble now, dude.
What? That is so mean.
and so Drew Carey comes out to the Royal Rumble, and the first person he has to fight is Kane.
No. He's in a windbreaker tracksuit type situation. And I'm like, Drew.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy.
But here's what I like about Drew Carey is he's a comedic actor, and I've said this in past episodes. I am always very dubious whenever a comedian or a comedic actor tries to do wrestling because they do this real Popeye cartoon thing, and I kind of just feel like Drew Carey's like, okay, I'm just gonna try. And he's fighting
Does
Kane.
He try?
Well, I think he does the smart thing where he's like, all right, cool, let's see what we got. And then the first person that comes out is Kane, and he's more or less like, fuck this, I don't want to fight Kane.
Right.
So I think he tries to shake his hand. Kane, big red monster, doesn't want anything to do with him, and Drew Carey eliminates himself. Wants no part of this.
What would you have done? Because I don't know what I would do.
I think in a shameful piece of heel work, I would immediately try to rip off Kane's mask. And then I would honestly run for it, because I'm pretty sure what would happen, I know myself, is I go for the mask and immediately get choke slammed. And there's just no way. So I'm going to go for the mask. And as soon as he choke slams me, I'm not long for this world. But I think the only thing I could think, again, it's like when you're being attacked by a shark, go for the eyes and maybe it'll let you go. So if I go for the mask, maybe Kane will be so preoccupied he won't hurt me. What would you do, Samee?
Look, I don't know. I'm really unpredictable. I'm out here in Jersey, like, beheading my coworkers. Like, I don't know what I would do. I would hope that I think the reflex when faced with a larger opponent is to tire them out. But I've got a bum knee, so I feel like I would try to, like, scurry around Kane, but then fall down, and then he would, like, he would pick me up by my feet and kind of like, when you shake out a blanket. I feel like he would do that to me, and then I would die in the ring.
What I thought you were going to say is you would try it, which again, I'm just imagining you running in circles around Kane, and then you're just like, oh, my knee, and then you fall down. And then you're trying to crawl away. He grabs you like you're shaking out a rug. So then he goes up. He catches you, tombstone, and then you get tombstone. You're done, dude. That
would probably be it. I think he would rock my ass.
Absolutely. So here's another bit that happened at the Royal Rumble that I really, really love. This is at the 2005 Royal Rumble. We get down to the final two competitors, and it's Batista and it's John Cena. And they're fighting, they're trading finishers back and forth. And then it's like, it gets this complicated series of maneuvers. And then in a pure, true mistake, they accidentally mess up and both fall out of the ring at the exact same time.
Oh, no.
So it's a tie, which was not supposed to happen. And so Vince McMahon is pissed. He marches down to the ring yelling. You see him like throwing down his jacket. He's getting ready to yell at everybody. He slides into the ring and legitimately tears both of his quads and cannot stand up. And so he's just sitting in the corner yelling at both of them, being like, you fucking ruined this. Like, how dare you? Like, we got to start this whole fucking
Vince McMahon does not walk like a normal person.
Yeah.
Like so I feel like he kind of did it to himself.
It's very funny. And I think most people are very Vince McMahon averse. And so there is part of you that feels, oh, this is karma. This feels so good.
Oh yeah, his knees, obviously his quads are broken, but he stays seated on the ring, but he's like kind of folded like an action figure that can't bend their legs, so it looks really comical, like he's a rag doll or something.
But is still screaming. He's dressing down two employees on live TV. It's insane.
Yeah, I watched a video that was saying that he was also extra angry because I think Batista and John Cena were on different shows at that time. So one was on Raw, one was on SmackDown. And the general managers were supposed to come out, but they left the event early. So Vince McMahon had only the refs to talk to and then himself. So he was like extra, extra angry. Maybe he tore his quads backstage.
So mad he ripped his own quads out. So here's another one that I think is really good. And this is sort of a reoccurring segment that happens. So as I said, the way to get eliminated from a Royal Rumble match is you have to be thrown over the top rope and both feet need to touch. And so sometimes you can get around this by doing all sorts of various creative things. And a wrestler named Kofi Kingston, part of the New Day, who we've discussed before, had a real streak of having super creative ways he would get out of being eliminated. So for example, in 2013, he gets thrown out of the ring and he lands on one of the ring commentators' chairs. And he pogo sticks his way back to the ring on the chair. And then in 2012, he gets thrown out of the ring, but instead of landing on his feet, he lands on his hands and then does a handstand walk.
Oh my gosh.
All the way back to the ring steps, and he gets himself back in the ring.
Oh, that's like Casey Catanzaro in the 2019 Royal Rumble, where she handstand walked back into the ring. Wild.
Yeah, he does his... He does an American Ninja Warrior-esque thing. Then in 2018, the New Day throw down pancakes on the ground. So he doesn't technically touch the ground. He's touching pancakes. And then they, Flora's Lava style, lead him back to the ring on a trail of pancakes. And he's able to get back into the ring.
So my relationship with New Day is this. Last episode, they were in a Hell in a Cell with the Usos. They had trombones on deck to fight with. And now I'm hearing that they're bringing pancakes to a Royal Rumble.
Pancakes. They brought cereal to WrestleMania, Samee.
I cannot wait to get into New Day.
So here's what I'll say just for you. And I think this holds true. This is what I think about the New Day. I think their characters are ostensibly the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where they're just fun-loving party dudes who are super fun and funny, but also very good at fighting. And so if you ever want the key to understanding, why the hell does New Day have pancakes? Because it's cool, because it's fun. Why are they coming out of a giant cereal box? Because they thought it'd be funny.
Cowabunga, bro.
Yeah. Why are you thinking about it so much?
It's not that serious, dog.
And then this last one, save the best for last. This is my favorite.
Okay.
So April 27th, 2018, they have an event called the Greatest Royal Rumble. Instead of 30 people, they have 50 people in this Royal Rumble.
Okay.
Everything's going smooth, going as normal. And then we get to the 39th entrant, and a man named Titus O'Neil comes running down to the ring. He runs down the ramp, trips, totally eats shit, and slides under the ring.
Fuck. Look, I've watched a couple of Royal Rumbles, and every time a competitor runs out, which is a high amount of them, I panic so badly because I'm worried that they're going to fall. And then Titus just eats shit, but not only in front of just 30 of his coworkers, it's 50 now.
50 and the crowd and everybody watching. And it's one of those things. Normally, when there's a mistake that happens in wrestling, they're very good at sweeping it under the rug. But this was
He
just
swept himself under the rug.
this is such an egregious mess up that nobody can do anything except for laugh and be like, I cannot believe Titus just truly, like a cartoon, is like and disappears under the ring. And this is what I will also say is they interview Titus about it. He's very cool and understanding.
Okay.
And I think has a very good sense of humor about it. And they interview him a couple days later, like, hey man, how'd you feel? He's like, I don't have anything clever to say, man. I just fell. I don't know what to do. And that really endeared me to Titus a lot more, just to be like, okay, look, man, you goofed and you were pretty funny about it, and that's all you can hope for when you mess up, right?
Yeah, he could have been a doof, but he just said, I goofed, and that was it. That's nice.
Yeah.
Good job, Titus. So you've talked about some highlights of different Royal Rumbles, but let's focus in on one specific Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about the Royal Rumble that took place in 2008.
We wanted to zero in on just one specific Royal Rumble to give you a taste of everything. So maybe we can break down what we've been talking about in abstract. We can just see how it breaks down in practice. So we chose one of the coolest. I really liked this Royal Rumble. I thought it was really good. It's like a pretty notoriously good Royal Rumble 2008. And so I think the only main context that you need heading into this Royal Rumble storyline wise is Randy Orton is the current WWE champion, and he is just a bad boy. And a lot of people are mad. A lot of people want that title from him. And one of the most bad boy things Randy Orton has done is he attacks John Cena. So John Cena's in a match with Mr. Kennedy. Mr. Kennedy does a hip toss, and then John Cena legitimately gets injured. And then after the match, Randy Orton slides in and keeps attacking him. He tries to RKO John Cena through a table. And in that whole attack, John Cena gets so injured, his pectoral muscle legitimately rips off the bone.
Oh my God.
And so John Cena is gone, dude. No more John Cena. Because Randy Orton is such a freaking bad boy.
All right, wait a second. Is it confirmed that it was Randy or was it Mr. Kennedy? And then Randy just did a little bit more damage.
Look, it could have been a little from column A, column B, but I'm just saying Randy Orton is firmly in his bad boy era. He has a match later on at the Royal, not in the Royal Rumble match, but he has a match at the Royal Rumble where he is just the heeliest of heels right now. So
yeah, fair. All right.
The other main thing you need to know going into this is Triple H has just been on this singularly focused quest to make it to the main event of WrestleMania and win the title back. It's been his all-consuming goal. He really wants it. And then Randy Orton used to be in a stable with Triple H. It was called Evolution. And so that at this point, they've all sort of gone their separate ways and not on the best terms. So a lot of these guys have beef with each other. So Triple H determined to make it to WrestleMania to take the title from Randy Orton, who has just been on a tear of being an absolute terror, both on screen and off. This is when Randy Orton was firmly in his bad boy era for multiple reasons.
Oh, Randy. Oh, man. Is this when he pooped in someone's bag?
Probably.
God. Randy, come on, man. Don't make it super hard to like you.
He gets it together eventually, but not in 2008. Anyways,
nope.
The show takes place at Madison Square Garden, and I just thought the branding around this Royal Rumble was especially cool. It was all just, I don't know if you saw the commercial, but it's basically a bunch of wrestlers get onto a subway and then just start wrestling each other in the subway.
I loved it. It was really cool. And as somebody who lives in New York now, brag, it was really cool to see.
You're like, that could happen to me on my way to work.
Well, apparently there is a wrestling in the subway gorilla show or something.
Whoa.
I know, right? I forget the name of it, but yeah.
That's awesome. So as we said, before we get to the main Rumble itself, there's a handful of matches that happen before the Rumble itself. So we'll run through those really quick. So the first one was Ric Flair versus MVP. And all you need to know about this stage of Ric Flair's career, he's in a storyline where basically if he loses a single match, he will be forced to retire. He's been a wrestler for 35 years, and every match he wrestles could be his last.
Ric Flair needs to stop. In 2008, Ric Flair is already 60 years old. He needs to stop. And also, up until this point in my journey with MVP, I saw him get lit on fire and then also beat by 60-year-old Ric Flair. MVP, what you doing, man?
MVP's having a real tough go of it.
Yeah,
but
dog.
as Samee mentioned, Ric Flair does win the match and goes on to continue to be a wrestler in 2024. So he's still doing it.
He's got to go to bed. He's got to go to bed.
Then backstage, we see an interstitial segment between the owner of the company, Vince McMahon, and he's talking to a character named Hornswaggle. The character of Hornswaggle he is a leprechaun who lives under the ring. And that's the basis of his character. He's very good friends with a wrestler named Fit Finlay, who is also Irish. And so I think they were tapping into that when they pitched it to this guy. And so it is played by a little person, and it is not the most PC portrayal. There's just a lot of, so he doesn't really talk, and his deal is he lives under the ring, and he is a leprechaun who helps Fit Finlay cheat. So why is Hornswaggle talking to Vince McMahon? There was a storyline that happened in 2007 where Vince McMahon was approached in storyline to be like, hey, Vince, we just want to let you know that you have a son in the WWE. We have an illegitimate child, and they just so happen to be a wrestler at the WWE. And so Vince McMahon is going around trying to figure out, who could my son be? Who is it? And then what was originally supposed to happen is there was a wrestler named Mr. Kennedy. So Vince McMahon's middle name, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. And so at this time, Mr. Kennedy, super popular wrestler. So they were going to give him a little extra boost by being like, you're the illegitimate son of Vince McMahon. But unfortunately, Mr. Kennedy got caught using performance-enhancing drugs and was suspended for 30 days.
Speaking of extra boost.
Yeah, he felt as though being Vince McMahon's son wouldn't be boost enough, so he looked for outside sources.
Jeez.
Suspended for 30 days. So they decided to change it last minute, and as sort of a big joke, basically, to turn it into a comedy angle, they made Hornswaggle Vince McMahon's son. So when Vince McMahon is talking to Hornswaggle, he's talking to him as like, you're my son, you're a McMahon now, so you have to win this Royal Rumble. And then basically he's trying to manipulate Hornswaggle into turning on his longtime friend Fit Finlay. And that's where the whole of this segment takes place.
You can kind of see like the way that Vince is talking to his only bastard son, just like the familial pressure it is to be a McMahon. Like he's telling Hornswaggle that he has to win Royal Rumble, and it doesn't seem like Hornswaggle really has
any desire to even win.
The desire or the ability to win. Like I can't imagine what Shane and Stephanie have to go through.
Yeah, I know, and because he's been applying pressure to them their entire lives, and so,
that's why they're so
he's
evil.
Only been in on Hornswaggle for a year, and he's already pressuring him to turn on his longtime best friend.
Man, Vince McMahon is a bastard.
He's the bastard, not Hornswaggle. From there, we move into our next match, which is a super violent and bloody match between John Bradshaw Layfield and Chris Jericho. And all I want to say is, if you're ever been curious about like, hey, what's the difference between the different eras of WWE, right? So there's the golden era, there's the attitude era, there's the ruthless aggression era, there's the PG era. If you've ever been curious about what is the difference between all of those, I would say if you ever wanted to know what the ruthless aggression era was all about, if you watch this match, I think it kind of gives you everything you need to know in a nutshell, where it's like, these guys are not bleeding. It's as though they stuck their faces in a punch bowl and they come up and they're just completely covered in red. It's so bloody and so violent. And that was kind of a hallmark of the whole ruthless aggression era. So from there, we move on to a match between Edge and Rey Mysterio. And all I wanted to bring up about this one is Edge has some guys in his entourage, and one of them is a very young Matt Cardona, who, Samee, you might remember from our GCW episode. So that guy who goes on to be the indie god, king of the indies.
Yep.
He was Zack Ryder in WWE in 2008.
Yeah, and in 2008 he goes to a wrestling match wearing a beanie.
Yeah, he was a crony back then, and so he's a real douchebag who gets beat up a lot. And then he graduated into a different kind of douchebag.
In character douchebag.
Yeah.
The intro to Edge's music is incredibly hard. It's like maybe 5 seconds of the hardest and fastest double pedals that I've heard recently, and it works.
I've always been a fan of the they think you know me.
You want to sing it?
They think you know me. Hold this day, I see clearly.
Amazing.
Yeah, the dude, his song is sick. He's got a great intro. Edge obviously wins. There's a whole deal where Edge is dating the general manager, Vicky Guerrero, who is Lady Eddie Guerrero's wife. And then when he passed away, they brought her into the WWE as a way to keep her in the fold, keep her in the family. So I think it's very nice that Vicky Guerrero was given opportunities to shine. But the character she played was just a super unlikable authority figure heel.
Right.
So she does this move that I think is really funny, where Ray sets Edge up to hit his finishing move, the 619, where basically Edge is pinned in the ropes, and then Ray's going to swing around and kick him in the face. And so while Ray is doing it, Vicky just runs up and hugs Edge, and then Ray ends up kicking her, and it allows Edge. I know, it's a true love wins moment. And as we know in the WWE, nothing hits harder than love. So because she takes that kick, she allows Edge to get the spear, get the victory. Pretty funny.
Bless Vicky.
Then we see the true bad boy, the career ender, Randy Orton. He's fighting Jeff Hardy. And yeah, he's a bad boy. Of course he's going to win. He's on an absolute tear. I was going to ask you, Samee, because he's a super bad boy heel now, but he's in his... When last we checked in with him at Hell in a Cell, he had a nice little crop of hair. But here we are in 2008, and he's doing his bald guy look. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about bald Randy Orton?
I like bald... I like 5 o'clock shadow on the head Randy Orton more than I like hair Randy Orton.
Okay, so 2008, we're loving Randy Orton's look.
We do. We really do. He's just sleek, hairless, snake of a man.
There is a thing that I noticed in 2008 where I don't know what these exact tattoos are called, but there was this stretch of time in the mid to late 2000s where everybody had those weird, angular, almost tribal tattoos, but not real. They really looked like those Affliction t-shirts. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I do.
And so Randy Orton has so many of those.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing.
It is just a really embarrassing time capsule. I do think he got them all covered up with cool skulls and stuff. So his tattoos now are sick, but in 2008, I'm really glad he got those covered up because they're pretty...
We know what's underneath them, Randy.
Yeah, we know who you really are.
Yeah, those tribal tattoos are kind of like, that they're like butterfly tramp stamps. Tribal tattoos kind of are categorized in that same area, especially because they are symmetrical and do kind of like wing out like that. There's no difference to me.
No difference to me either. I wish as a society we hadn't have gone that route in 2008.
Me too.
But that, Samee, brings us to the Royal Rumble.
Before we get into the Royal Rumble of this evening, I wanted to play a little game with you, Michael.
Okay.
So in this episode, before the Royal Rumble starts, we are treated to this beautiful Royal Rumble like facts package, and the narrator is basically like, what makes this match so special? Let's count the ways. And I asked you previously if you watched the entire episode, and you said yes. Well, we're gonna test that in this Royal Rumble 2008. True or false?
Oh,
so
no.
all of these facts all of these questions, all of these statements that I'll ask you, right meow, are from the video package and
that I claimed I watched.
that you claimed you watched, buddy. So here we go. Pop
Shit,
quiz.
You found my weakness. Basic knowledge trivia.
You said it in a previous episode, and I was like, oh, there's that Achilles heel. Let's get him. But here we go. It's the Royal Rumble video package 2008. True or false? Michael, first question. From its start in 1988 to 2008, 569 superstars have entered the Royal Rumble and have been eliminated.
True.
Ding, ding, ding. That's correct. 569 superstars have entered the Royal Rumble and they have all been eliminated. If you weren't sure, are in relation to the 2008 Royal Rumble and definitely not in 2024 because it didn't.
Yeah, so there's an additional 20 years of Royal Rumble facts beyond this.
Yeah. All right. Royal Rumble.
If
21.
I get one wrong, that's going to be my excuse of just I just know so much about the whole long history. So kind of get it.
That's only one. Look, you're doing great. You've got 100% of them right so far. So the 2008 Royal Rumble is the 21st Royal Rumble. And the 21st Royal Rumble is Shawn Michaels' 11th appearance in a Royal Rumble.
True.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it right. You're
Awesome.
2 for 2. Next question. Okay. All of Mick Foley's personalities have not yet appeared in one single Royal Rumble.
False.
Wah! False. All of Mick Foley's personalities have already appeared in one single Royal Rumble. What a guy.
Very fun. That's a very fun Royal Rumble. So basically, Mankind, Dude Love, and Cactus Jack all competed at various points during a Royal Rumble. It was very fun.
I love him. Lord love him. Next question. Chyna has appeared in the Royal Rumble and is the only woman to do so as far as 2008 goes.
True.
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. So you've gotten all of these questions right. We have one more to go. Michael, are you okay?
Yes.
All right. Here's the last one. The shortest amount of time a superstar was in the ring was 3 whole seconds.
True.
False.
No.
You done goofed.
No.
It was
no. It was. I thought somebody was in there for 3. What's the answer?
The shortest time is 2 seconds.
Okay.
That's it. End of quiz. True or false? We did it.
False.
False. Let's do it again.
Damn. Okay. I really thought it was 3 seconds. Samee, thank you so much for doing that game. And as always, keeping the headmaster honest. You know, I could sit here and act like I know everything, but turns out I only know 4 out of 5 things.
That's not a bad statistic.
Yeah, I think that's all right. I'll take it.
You're good. You're safe. All right, let's get it going.
So, Samee, Royal Rumble, 2008. What's the official wrestling stopwatch on this match?
The official wrestling stopwatch is 51 minutes and 25 seconds.
Very nice. So this match is almost an hour long. So like we said, there are so many different little ebbs and flows and peaks and valleys and stories within stories that are all interconnected with each other. And so I think before we fully just dive in beat by beat,
sure.
Were there any wrestlers that stood out to you when you were watching the match? And because I think a good reason to watch the Royal Rumble is you get introduced to a bunch of wrestlers that maybe you're not as familiar with. So I was wondering, did that work? Did that happen for you? Did you see any wrestlers who stood out to you in a positive way?
I have a couple of wrestlers that I want to mention, but I think organically the wrestler that really caught my eye was Batista because, you know, I've only really known him to be as an actor, and he's popped up here and there in like video packages in the research that we've done so far, but I haven't really like seen him. So this was a moment for me that I was like, okay, yeah, we gotta look into Batista.
And this is prime Batista too. Batista,
yeah, the animal,
is fucking awesome, dude.
He rules, and he's good. The other wrestlers that made me take note are kind of in the zeitgeist in 2024, or I did write down Cody Rhodes. Number 1, love brunette Cody Rhodes, and also I'm on this personal journey. If you're a listener of this podcast, you've heard me basically spit on his name, and I have made a 180 on Cody Rhodes. The other wrestlers are Carlito, who just came back to the WWE, and Chavo Guerrero.
Speaking of spitting in people's faces, Carlito.
Carlito just straight up spit.
That was my favorite thing. Is his whole deal is he would walk with an apple, and so if you pissed him off, he'd take a bite of the apple and spit the apple in your face.
What the hell?
So that his theme song was, I spit in the face of people who don't want to be cool. And I think that's a pretty good sentiment, honestly.
I really wish I was a senior in high school so that could be my senior quote in the yearbook.
Oh, you just would have walked through the halls of your high school with an apple being like, you're a geek.
Yeah, that would have been a lot better than how I behaved in high school for reals.
And then Chavo Guerrero, we also covered him in the Lucha Bros episode.
Yeah, a little bit.
Legendary career. He's been in all the places, done all the things. And so it was really nice to see him in vintage SmackDown era WWE doing his thing. Like he's great. I love Chavo.
Yeah, and he's popped up recently just because he was the wrestling consultant and trainer on A24's Iron Claw.
He does a lot of training people to do wrestling for TV and movies and stuff. So he's always very good at helping people get comfortable doing wrestling.
What if
would be cool.
We reach out to Chavo and he's the one that helps us get to a point where I can put you through a table.
Here's the Samee, I would love that. I am willing to bet we cannot afford him.
But it's for a good cause.
It is for a great it's for the most noble of causes.
Yeah.
But there's just no way we can, he is a professional. But hey, right. Chavo, if you're listening, we love you. And help Samee put me through a table, please.
Would love that. Yeah, please.
Those wrestlers caught your eye, but did you find yourself, because I'm assuming you didn't know the results of this match going in, so just purely based on your own instincts while you were watching it, is there anybody you were rooting for while it was happening?
Triple H, because I'm hot on his ass still from Hell in a Cell research.
Yeah.
Cody Rhodes, obviously. The brunette really got me. His brunette Cody, really love the guy. And then Umaga, because I think he just stayed in a lot longer than I expected him to, which is fun.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, as we state, in the Royal Rumble match, two competitors start off. The first entrant into the Royal Rumble is The Undertaker. And then the second entrant is Shawn Michaels. And already the crowd is going nuts because at the Royal Rumble 2007, so the Royal Rumble last year, the last two competitors in the match were Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. So
say it ain't so.
They eliminate everybody and then basically just have a match at the end of the Royal Rumble. And it's totally crazy. Yeah, and The Undertaker ends up winning. So we go into the 2008 Royal Rumble, and so the last two guys out last time are the first two guys in this time. And so they immediately just start going at each other again and having this really brutal and intense match.
That's wild. And it's so crazy that it happened that way.
Luck of the draw, Samee. Who could have seen it coming?
But I think one of the commentators was like, oh, the irony of WWE right now. It's just like, really?
Here's the thing. I always love to be in the storyline. So in my mind, I'm like, it's more fun to believe that magic is real than to be like, interesting sleight of hand. Interesting.
Okay, fair.
Oh, very cool of you to palm that card instead of being like, hey man, that card disappeared. What? They could have started. Any two people could have started, but it's true. But it's Shawn Michaels. It's The Undertaker. How crazy is that? Yeah. I was also laughing because on the way to the ring, this kid. There's this kid in a yellow Ween shirt who is on an absolute tear the entire show. He's right at the entrance ramp. So every time somebody walks out, this little dickhead in a Ween shirt just keeps being like, he mugs every single chance that he gets. He's in so many shots. It's so funny. So the Undertaker's like coming to the ring and this dude in a Ween shirt is like, it's so funny. The dude is hijacking the entire show. I started off hating the kid, and by the end of it, I was like, I love this. This dude is acting a fool right now. Good for him.
I want to know like how people end up in those areas, because buying tickets, they're like thousands of dollars in those
Very
areas.
expensive. So
his parents paid thousands of dollars for him to look like that for 54 minutes.
for Samee, for 3 hours, because he's doing it the whole show.
I wonder where he is. I wonder if the internet was ruthless enough back then to like for people to have figured out where he lives.
Well, Samee, let's make this into a TikTok and see if we can find him.
Okay. Hey, bro.
Hey, man. Hey, if you see this, we love your work.
Hey, guess what? Who am I?
I like Ween too. All right, let's get into the match. So number 1, number 2, Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, they're running back their classic Royal Rumble rivalry. So we're already starting inside of a storyline. And I think that storyline is dominating the first, I want to say half of the match, where people are filtering in and out, but it all seems to be a distraction that's keeping the two of these guys apart. Like they both really want to fight with each other, but then all these other competitors keep getting in the way. So it's like people filter in, but meanwhile, I feel like they're kind of just bouncing in and around, but to me, the magnetic pole is between these two. So we get to the 5th competitor, Hardcore Holly. He makes his way into the ring, and then he starts fighting Shawn Michaels, and there's a miscommunication, and he legitimately breaks Shawn Michaels' nose, and you can see on the tape, his nose is just running like a faucet.
Yeah.
And Shawn Michaels continues to fight for 30 minutes with a broken nose.
That's nuts, dude. That's nuts. Like, good for you.
As I said, the early part of this is just people are coming in, they're fighting, but I think the main thing that everything's rotating around is this Undertaker Shawn Michaels thing. I think the momentum and the temperature of the match shifts on its head by the time we get to the 8th competitor, Batista, who you mentioned.
Big boy.
He comes in, and he stands face to face with the Undertaker, and that's when things really start to get a lot more complicated because, as I mentioned, Undertaker beat Shawn Michaels at the Royal Rumble last year. He goes to WrestleMania where he beats Batista for the title.
Oh my gosh.
So these guys have beef. So all of a sudden, like we said, multiple layers of storytelling, right? Undertaker has a huge beef with Batista, but he also has to watch his back because waiting in the wings is Shawn Michaels, who has a huge beef with the Undertaker. So now all of a sudden, it's become infinitely more complicated.
Oh, Royal Rumble. What a treat.
Yeah. And then, so Batista is number 8. And then the 9th person to come out is Hornswaggle, who looks at all the carnage happening in the ring, and I think pretty smartly is immediately like, yeah, fuck this. And he hides under the ring. So he doesn't he doesn't officially enter the match at all. And he's just hiding under the ring, which is sort of a callback to in 1996, Jerry the King Lawler did almost the exact same thing. So when the commentator used to be a wrestler, Jerry the King Lawler. And so he, in the 96 Royal Rumble, basically was like, oh, fuck this. And he hid under the ring. And so they would just do little camera shots where you would just see him like peeking out and hiding. And then I believe Shawn Michaels ended up catching him and pulling him into the ring and eliminating him or whatever. So they're doing a very similar thing with Hornswaggle here. So Hornswaggle sees all the guys fighting in the ring, and he immediately scurries under the ring and hides there for, what would you say, maybe 20 minutes?
Something like that. He's gone for a while.
He's gone to the point where I didn't think he was going to come back out. I thought he was just going to be done under the ring.
In story, Hornswaggle lives under the ring, so he's probably just having a good time under there.
I believe that is what the commentators say too. They're like, oh, he just went home because, yeah, as Samee pointed out, that was Hornswaggle's whole character, is he was a leprechaun who lived under the ring was his whole deal. So him hiding under the ring or popping out surprisingly from underneath the ring was a signature of that character. Yeah, Hornswaggle disappears for 20 minutes, and I think he pops back up 20 minutes later to help somebody eliminate The Miz. So The Miz is in this thing where he's being dangled over the ropes, and he's got his hand supporting him, and then Hornswaggle just pops up under the ring, grabs his hand, and then disappears back under the ring.
The Miz's shorts here... Man.
Some very, very 2008 looking shorts for sure.
Just longer than Cena's bedazzled a little bit in some weird spots. Like I
Yeah.
was really glad to see The Miz eliminated,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
Capri-esque. He also had a faux hawk, which has never been my
Yeah. I think he
yeah,
kind
just
of still
again,
does.
some real 2008 fashion going on.
Yeah. Oof.
Absolutely, absolutely a time capsule. Then the 13th entrant is Cody Rhodes, who is
Hey,
making
hey. Hey, pew,
his
pew.
Royal Rumble debut. So I was curious, Sammy,
Hmm.
because you only know Cody Rhodes now, but how did it feel to see him at pretty much the very beginning of his career?
I really enjoyed it. As I said, I love brunette Cody, and he was also pulling off some really great spots. There was one part where somebody was trying to push him out of the ring, and he kept on hanging on with his legs because he's a tall guy. And then eventually, he uses his legs to kind of like chopstick the guy's head and pulls him over. He doesn't quite eliminate him, but it was a really good spot. I also realized, and maybe I'm looking way too much into it because I guess I have a crush on Cody, but his trunks were a little like not cinched to his waist enough, so they were kind of like loose and wobbly, and I was like, "Oh, this is your first Rumble. You haven't
Mm.
gotten to the fancy trunk makers yet."
Yeah, just wearing swim trunks,
Yeah, what is this guy?
Yeah, what are we doing here?
Cody.
So at this point, where Umaga enters, and we're about
Hey.
halfway through. 30 people are going to enter the Royal Rumble. So at this point, almost half of the competitors have entered the match. And I think this is when it devolves into not chaos, but there's no discernible through line running through the story anymore. There's like little pockets of little skirmishes happening here, happening back here. These guys are teaming up to fight this guy. Like this guy has a beef with this guy because he attacked him on SmackDown. So it just becomes a swirling, roiling amount of chaos. Then by the time we get to the exact halfway point, a man named Gene Snitsky comes out at number
It's
15. He's ghost pale. His head and eyebrows are shaved, and apparently at that point they rebranded his character where they dyed his teeth yellow.
oh.
And he comes out, and he's he's a big guy, and he's presented as this big monster heel especially at this point in his career. And so when he comes out, he just immediately starts tearing into people, and on commentary JR says very awkwardly, like, man, I'd like to see Gene Snitsky hook up with Umaga. And so, Sammy, here's a question I
Yeah.
have for you.
Mhm.
Which two members of the 2008 Royal Rumble would you like to see hook up?
Well, this is a classic Wrestling Academy question because, as I said earlier, we love for wrestling to be cute. Who would I like to see hook up that was an entrance in the 2008 Royal Rumble? Batista and Triple H.
Ooh.
Two
Yeah,
bigs.
that'd be a big beefy thing. And then they also were in Evolution together, and they were friends, they were
Oh.
enemies. Like there's probably a lot of complicated feelings that would make that a pretty delicious hookup to see.
Friends to enemies to lovers, I think, is a pretty big and favored genre of romantic novel. So I think it would be great.
All the tools are
Fireworks.
there.
Michael, who are the two that you would like to see hook up?
So I thought a lot about this,
Okay,
and I have two choices for you.
go on.
So the first two, I would want to see John Morrison and Shelton Benjamin. Ooh la la. Look, they're just two sleek, muscular guys. Ooh la la. Why not?
A very big ooh la la. I want
Yeah.
one of those like moving text things that go ooh la la.
Yeah. Me watching it, I'm like, but then
Or
the
what's your
other one,
other?
and I
Yeah.
think I might want this one even more, is I want to see Gene Snitsky
Mm.
and this version, 2008 version of Kane hook up. Because could you just imagine these two mashed potato looking motherfuckers just rolling around? It's just fucking congealing on each other.
Oh my gosh, and they mash so hard they become one
Yeah.
potato.
And if you want to talk about Triple H and Batista
I
having
do.
an enemies to lovers, Kane and Gene Snitsky have an insane rivalry against each
Really?
other. Oh yeah. So Matt Hardy and Lita were together, And so Kane set his sights on, he became obsessed with Lita, and he wanted to be with her. And since, he's a deranged Frankenstein's monster, the way he manifested that was by beating up Matt Hardy and trying to kidnap Lita. And then it was revealed that Lita was pregnant. And Matt Hardy was like, wow, since I'm the father, I'm going to do the right thing. And Lita, will you marry me? And then right when that's happening, Kane comes out and he's like, whoa, Matt, what are you talking about? I'm the father.
Say it ain't so.
And Samee, unfortunately, it was so. Kane was the father of Lita's baby. Yeah, Lita, unreal. So Matt Hardy he's furious. He's like, this is okay. So remember in our Becky Lynch episode where we talked about the dark ages of women's storytelling? So this is a prime example of that, because Matt Hardy's like, I challenge you, Kane, to death do we part match. And basically what happened was, whoever won, Lita was going to be forced to marry them.
No. Who did she marry, Michael?
If you had to guess, who do you think won the till death do us part match?
Kane.
That's right. Kane won the till death do us part match, and Lita was forced to marry Kane.
Oh my god.
So now they're married. They're going to have a baby together. And then out comes Gene Snitsky, and he attacks Kane with a chair. And then when he attacks Kane with a chair, Kane falls onto Lita. And in storyline, so again, Lita was not really pregnant. None of this was really happening. But in storyline, she then loses the child. And so, yeah. So incredibly sad, which starts a whole feud between Kane and Gene Snitsky. So when these guys fight each other, the 2008 Royal Rumble, I mean, could you just imagine the hatred that these two men must have for each other? And then you put that into a hookup situation. I'm just saying, that's a powder keg, Sam. That is a powder keg. These guys are going to explode.
The reason why I got so excited that you mentioned Kane and Gene in the same breath is I didn't know that they had such a rich history, but there were so many men in the Royal Rumble at that point. I didn't know where Kane was in his mask on, mask off journey. And so I thought Gene, when he came out, was Kane.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I'm not.
You look at these two guys, they are very similar looking. Kane does come out during this match. And we also, at 18 and 19, we have two legendary wrestlers from the 80s come out. So at 18, we have Superfly Jimmy Snuka comes out. And then 19, we have Rowdy Roddy Piper, who, I got to be honest with you, I just found it really cool and impressive that Piper gets to the ring and basically strips off 90% of his clothes and then goes in to fight. And he's in his 60s at this point. And so, yeah, you just see the 60-year-old man march to the ring and is like, you know what? Let's do it. Pops off his kilt, his belt, his shirt, his undershirt, his jacket, and then he goes into the ring and goes out pretty quick. But
that is a classic amount of clothes for a 60-year-old person, for sure.
I know, especially it's like, dude, you're going into the Rumble, just come out in way less. But he comes out in a comical amount of clothes to take off before he hops in. Okay, at this point, one of Sammy's favorites comes in, Carlito, spit in the face. So he comes into the match and immediately spits in it. So I think he must have grabbed a bite full of apple before he ran to the ring, because he spits in somebody's face immediately. And there's this very fun moment that happens here where the Undertaker sees that his brother Kane is leaning on the ropes. He's in a vulnerable position. So you see the Undertaker getting ready with his hand, and he's going to deliver the choke slam. And then right when Kane turns around, the Undertaker swoops in and grabs Shawn Michaels. And he's like, that's right. They're rekindling their rivalry from the beginning of the match. They've been fighting for literally 30 minutes at this point.
Gosh.
And the Undertaker swoops in and wants to choke slam Shawn Michaels. I think your other favorite, Umaga, breaks it up. So at this point, like we said, we're in the free for all portion of the Royal Rumble. And this is where once you get over halfway, you start to, I think, reach a tipping point where people are just going to slowly start to filter out. So we start getting to the elimination sequences, and there's like a very funny elimination sequence, right? So Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, they've been fighting for 30 minutes at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And so Undertaker goes to eliminate Gene Snitsky. And then while his back is turned, Shawn Michaels sees this as the perfect opportunity to finally eliminate the Undertaker and get revenge for himself for Undertaker beating him at the 2007 Royal Rumble. And then while his back is turned, Mr. Kennedy sees that Shawn Michaels is vulnerable. So he throws Shawn Michaels out of the ring. And then Shawn Michaels basically plops down directly at Undertaker's feet and has this like, looks up, and he's very scared.
Yeah.
And then he peels out one way. And then the Undertaker's so mad, he just puts Gene Snitsky through a table for no reason. And then as Shawn Michaels is sort of petering away, he just bumps into a cameraman. And you're like, damn, Shawn Michaels is having a bad night.
Right. Yeah, he stayed in the ring for half an hour longer than he needed to with a broken nose. Gets eliminated right after he triumphantly eliminates his rival, and then he gets bonked.
Yeah, then he gets bonked on top of all that.
What a cherry on the top of a really bad day.
Yeah, no good, really bad day for Shawn Michaels. We get to the 25th entrance, so we're now 5 away from the maximum amount of people being in the match. And a man enters, his name is Mark Henry. He's the world's strongest man. So he's like a big 500-pound, legitimately had a world record for weightlifting at one point. So he's like a power lifter build, comes into the ring, and he immediately sets his sights on young Cody Rhodes, and he starts trying to beat him.
Cody alone.
And so when he's trying to tip Cody Rhodes over the side of the ring, Hornswaggle comes back out from under the ring to try to get Cody, only this time Mark Henry sees him and he pulls Hornswaggle over the rope, just like, and Hornswaggle's in the match. And then he's face to face with Mark Henry and then another wrestler named Big Daddy V, who you may remember, Samee, from our very first episode. He was in the Ministry of Darkness in 1999 as a man named Viscera.
Oh.
So now he's rebranded. He's now Big Daddy V.
Okay.
And so Mark Henry and Big Daddy V have set their sights on poor Hornswaggle, and he's scared. He doesn't know what to do. And then his friend, Fit Finlay, throws all the rules of the Royal Rumble aside, and he comes out before he's scheduled to, and he runs in with a weapon. It's called a shillelagh, and it's basically a club, and he just starts clubbing dudes. And he's cutting through he's cutting through underbrush with a machete. He's just like, and he takes all these guys out. He grabs Hornswaggle, and the two of them get away. And so basically, Finlay disqualifies himself to save Hornswaggle. Although it should be mentioned, Hornswaggle did not leave over the top rope. So very technically, Hornswaggle never got eliminated. Hornswaggle never lost the 2008 Royal Rumble. No matter who the actual winner is, Hornswaggle never actually lost. Just saying.
He fulfilled his father's wishes. Then he technically won the Royal Rumble.
They never mention it again, but I just want the record to show Hornswaggle 2008 never lost.
He's the longest Royal Rumble winner ever because he has yet to be over the ropes till now.
Hey, Samee, would you forfeit your spot in the Royal Rumble to save me?
Yeah, I think so. If you were unrighteously pulled into the ring and you were facing the world's strongest man and I had a shillelagh with me, absolutely.
Would you run in with a lightsaber and save me?
No, I think I would do a barbed wire 2x4.
Mick Foley style.
Yeah, dog.
I'd run in with a cell phone, Karen style, and be like, I'm recording all of this. I'm recording all of this. So do you still want to beat up Samee? Still?
What are you going to do about it?
Yeah, you're going to go on Facebook.
I'm posting this on Nextdoor.
And everyone's going to know that you guys are bad guys. So go ahead, beat up Samee if you want to. And then they would both start kicking my ass, and then you'd have plenty of opportunity to escape.
Yeah, I would leave you at that point. I'd be like, actually, I don't know about this.
But I was doing it as a distraction to help you. So
thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. So now things are swirling. People are starting to get eliminated. We get down to about 10 or so people left in the ring. And at number 29, the Game, Triple H, shows up. And as we said, this guy's been on an absolute tear. All he wants is to make it to WrestleMania so he can get his hands on Randy Orton. So he comes in and he immediately starts taking out the trash, starts throwing people over the top of the ring. And then Batista gets back in the mix, and that's his old stablemate from Evolution. So these guys have history. They start fighting. Things are happening, and then number 30, the last entrant in the Royal Rumble, who should appear but John Cena, who, as we mentioned 3 months ago, tore his pectoral muscle off the bone, which is an injury that should put you out of commission for 8 to 12 months. 8 months minimum. John Cena came back in 3 months.
That's so wild. That's so wild. Is that fast healing attributed to how much money he has, or how determined he is, or is it a little bit of both?
I'm just saying wrestlers get hurt all the time, but John Cena is one of the few people I've ever heard. He got a reputation of being Super Cena, where he would get these pretty bad injuries and would come back pretty quick from them. And he's one of the only people who's ever been able to do that. And I don't really know what it is, but it's just like that's a level of commitment and dedication and resolve. And I mean, again, if you're injured, I'm sure you want to heal as fast as possible, but somehow John Cena can actually do it.
Good for you, John.
Yeah, so he comes back, and I just want to put the perception to you. At this point, John Cena is a very polarizing figure in the WWE. Around 2006, fans really started to turn on John Cena. And do you remember when we were talking in episode 5 in the Becky Lynch episode about how a lot of times it felt like the WWE wasn't listening to what the fans want, and they would just sort of dictate whatever they wanted to do? So
yeah,
where a lot of where that started was in 2006. They decided they were going to make John Cena a big star. And so John Cena would win all the time, no matter if people liked him, no matter if people wanted him to win. And it was just a dominant foregone conclusion that 9 times out of 10, John Cena would always win. And so people really started to turn on him and reject him and resent him. And in the face of all of that, John Cena, much like Roman Reigns, just continued to deliver at a high level, with people in his face being like, we fucking hate you, dude, for years. Wow. So instead of turning heel like The Rock, he just went through it for years. And so by the time we get to 2008, I think just his sheer force of will, force of personality had gotten the audience to a point where they are 50-50 on him. Half of the audience loves him and half of the audience hates him. And so you can hear it in this match. When he comes out, it's not all cheers. And I do think him coming back from an 8-month injury in 3 months did a lot to really boost fans' perception of like, this guy went through hell to come back and entertain us. Right. And he always does good matches. Maybe let's give John Cena a try. And so he continued to have sort of a rocky reputation with the fans, but it is just cannot be understated. This was a huge pivotal moment for John Cena specifically coming back from this injury. It really helped fans see him in a new light.
I will say though, like I didn't know any of that before literally right now. But when I was watching this for the first time and his music hit, I shouted pretty. I was excited to see him.
It's truly incredible that he comes back. The fans are going crazy too. And I think as the match goes on, it becomes like, oh shit, John Cena again. And then the crowd starts to become a little bit split on him. We make it down to the final 3 competitors in the match. We've got John Cena, we've got Triple H, and we've got Batista. And I think pretty quickly into this 3-person triangle stare-off, John Cena put something together. Triple H and Batista used to be in a group called Evolution. So it's entirely possible that these guys are about to team up on me and get me eliminated. So there's a little bit of indecision. Are these guys going to do it? And then we go around the horn and everybody delivers their signature taunt to each other. So John Cena does the "you can't see me." Batista does his infamous thumbs down. And then Triple H tells them both to suck it.
And he lunges towards them a little bit with it too. Like it's not a still suck it.
Yeah, it's an active suck it. No passive suckets from Triple H. So
Of course not.
every man is for themselves. And so all three of these guys just start beating the hell out of each other.
What I loved seeing, and this is before they opened a can of whoop ass on each other, is John Cena and Triple H had, I don't know, it's not a headbutt, but they pressed each other's foreheads. Like they pressed foreheads and did a stare down so close. And I don't know how you feel about those, but I think I'm really affected by them in like a positive, like this is actually working kind of way. And I love seeing it every time because it is working the way it's supposed to, but then I also guiltily I do want them, I want them to kiss.
Samee, you're not the only person I've ever, when two wrestlers are face to face in an intense stare off, I've seen so many people have the involuntary response of just watching it and being like,
Kiss.
Kiss each other.
Yes.
Just kiss.
Yes.
Just kiss.
Love this for us. I love wrestling for us.
We're wrestling. We're doing it. The final three, Batista gets eliminated. We're down to the final two. And now it's just John Cena versus Triple H. Both these men have a claim to want to get to WrestleMania. They both have their own various reasons for getting to the title, right? Randy Orton attacked John Cena, helped put him on the shelf. Triple H has been determined to get to the main event of WrestleMania, and they're both standing in each other's way. So both of these guys need this victory from each other. And so we end up, it's a back and forth. And like I'm saying, there's a lot of the fans are split. When John Cena is getting in too much offense, you can feel the crowd. You can hear them. They're booing John Cena, which is something I'm kind of not used to anymore. I mean, I remember going through this live and really resenting John Cena and not liking him. But it did feel weird because he has now become a pretty beloved character in the WWE, but he wasn't always. So it was funny to go back and see vintage John Cena where people are so fucking angry at this guy. Hate him so much. And of course, John Cena comes back. He came back from this injury that put him on the shelf, should have put him on the shelf for a year. He comes back 3 months. He ends up getting the victory, comes out on top. John Cena is going to WrestleMania, except the next night on Raw, he declares that he does not want to wait until WrestleMania to get his hands on Randy Orton. He challenges him to a match at No Way Out, February 17th, 2008, a match in which he fights Randy Orton for the WWE title, a match in which Randy Orton slaps a referee and gets himself disqualified.
Like on purpose?
Yeah. He intentionally gets himself disqualified by slapping a referee, meaning John Cena wins, but because it's by disqualification, he does not win the title, meaning John Cena is going to WrestleMania anyway.
Wow.
But at the same pay-per-view, Triple H wins the Elimination Chamber, which is another way to get to WrestleMania. So it ends up being a three-way dance, a triple threat match at WrestleMania for the title. But Samee,
wow,
that's a story for a different day.
Oh my gosh, I honestly want to watch that WrestleMania right now.
So we're at the end. Samee, we've learned all about the Royal Rumble. We've experienced one for ourselves.
We have.
Any final thoughts?
I loved seeing the eliminated wrestlers walk out on their own time. Like, because during matches, when somebody's thrown out of the ring, they have the pressure of needing to get back in the ring to continue the match. But at a Royal Rumble, they could leave at any time. So like Umaga, I think took like 1 to 2 minutes to just kind of just mosey on out, and Batista did the same, where he's even just high-fiving everybody, being a little bit distracting. But I thought it was nice to see the wrestlers move at their own pace.
100%. And I would too. I'd be like, because there's a huge rush to get to the ring, but once you're out, it's like, yeah, fuck that. Let me just greet the fans. Who cares? I don't care. I'm gonna just walk. And the design of the Royal Rumble set was kind of saloon doors, so it was really funny to watch guys being like, "Oh man."
Oh, and another thing about Shawn Michaels' very bad day is that he tried to go out of the arena on one side that wasn't an exit. So we saw him stumble there too. Ah, Shawn.
He basically walked into the door opens and then he tries to walk into just a firm corner instead of just through the open doors.
And in this moment, people are now realizing we watch these more than once.
The whole second time I watched it, I couldn't take my eyes off the Ween kid to be like, what's the Ween kid doing?
How's he liking John Cena? John Wena, even.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. He seems to settle down during the matches, but he's going ham for these entrances.
He really likes entrances. There's one other question that I have for you, Michael. If you were to be in a Royal Rumble match, how long would you be okay with being in before you're eliminated? Like, it's already known that you won't be the winner.
I would want to be the Iron Man. I think at the point of the 2008 Royal Rumble, Rey Mysterio had the record of being in for, I think it's something like 62 minutes. I want to be in for 63 minutes, dude.
That is very honorable.
I know, especially since I can't fight and I've made it pretty clear that I'm kind of a huge wiener. So just watching a dude being like, please don't hit me for an hour. It's just like...
Yeah, you stated that you would go in the ring recording everybody on your phone for Facebook.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Threatening to sue people. It's just like, for an hour, just be like, man, how many more times can this guy get his ass kicked and not get eliminated? I'm almost starting to respect it at this point.
Yeah, you're just turning. You're so bad that you're turning people. I think it would be great.
Samee.
Yes.
That was the Royal Rumble 2008. We've learned about the history. We've experienced one for ourselves. Do you have any final thoughts, things that you noticed or appreciated from the Royal Rumble?
I mean, as I mentioned before, I really enjoy how thick the storytelling is in a Royal Rumble. But I have to admit it, before I got to that point, I was kind of lukewarm on Royal Rumbles. It was just a little bit too chaotic for me to be like, where am I supposed to be focusing on? What am I supposed to be focusing on? But after watching twice, that's when it clicked. There's so many stories that it's okay to be a little bit confused, but when you tune in, there's so much there for you.
I think it stands to be one of my favorite events of the year. It's just from the pure standpoint of it gives you, and I think this match in particular gives you everything you need to know about wrestling. There are parts that are really funny when somebody comes in and they get eliminated really quick. There are so many different wrestlers you get introduced to. There are cool dramatic moments, and then you get to see some very funny, amazing spectacles, and you get to see some just really amazing wrestling sequences. So I feel like if you're trying to get somebody into wrestling, there's nothing better than introducing them to the Royal Rumble. And I would say you're in luck because when we're releasing this episode, the Royal Rumble is coming up.
Oh my goodness.
Get everybody you know and show them the Royal Rumble. I guarantee you're going to have a great time.
Yeah, but only let them into your home one at a time at 90-second intervals.
90-second intervals. Just you and 30 of your closest friends and enemies and legends from the past. So that is this episode of Wrestling Academy. We want to thank you for listening to Wrestling Academy, which is hosted, produced, and edited by me, Michael Classic, and you, Samee Junio. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube at Wrestling Academy Pod. Send us an email at wrestlingacademypod@gmail.com. Follow us wherever you get your podcasts. But check us out on Spotify, where we have Q&As and polls for every episode. And I think something we'd like to know is, do you have a favorite Royal Rumble in general? Is there's just like, it could even just be the year, just like which one you think is the most fun? Is it the one Ric Flair won? Is it the 99 Rumble? Is it the one where Vince McMahon wins? Like, do you have a favorite Royal Rumble? If so, let us know. And be sure to check out our website, wrestlingacademy.university. Yes, that is our real website. We paid a lot of money for that URL because we commit to the bit. Enjoy the Royal Rumble. And until then, class dismissed.
Class is dismissed.
We'll see you next time.